We're rolling. We got the record button. We're on. David Romero Hernandez.
Yes.
Dude, thank you so much for being on today. I know that we're an hour before you, and it's really early in the morning, but I respect your game. Shirt, tie. I literally came in this. I had to throw on my blue jacket. This is making a second appearance. Dude, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. Tell us a little bit about you, David.
I came into the interview. I was being interviewed in the McAllen office out of Nick Smith's office.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Gadden was the person who actually gave me the job. And I was very excited. When I first went into the interview, I really didn't know what to expect because I didn't understand what the job was about. But after the interview, I was very excited. I was excited about the fact that I was going to be learning from somebody that had great success in life, somebody that was presenting themselves as a very professional person. And I was just fired up,
Was Nick Smith that interviewed you?
No, it was Casey Gadden.
In Nick Smith's office?
It was in his office, yeah.
And what year was this?
This was in 2018, February of 2018.
And how much, when you moved to the States, how much English did you speak before you moved to the States?
Nothing.
So in 3 years, you have established yourself, your stats, I'll talk about it in a second, but just learning English in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
You speak better English than half the people that I know.
I'm working
Even
on
me
it.
in some cases. I still make up words. I don't understand. But, wow, man. In your first, so some questions for you as far as stats. In your first 10 months after starting with Cucko, how much did you personally sell?
I sold $100,000.
$100,000.
Yeah, $100,000.
And how many in the first 12 months, your first full year?
135,000.
And when you became a district manager 2019 May, so you've been a district manager for 6 months, 8 months right now?
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't even know math. That's you're doing. How much are you total at now from May until present day?
It's probably like $430,000.
$430,000.
Yeah, something.
That's something special, man. That's something special. The cool thing I get to brag on you is that not only did you receive the #1 trophy at SLC for new district managers, #1 in the entire company, you're also #1 in the entire company for new DMs and the President's Banquet standings. That means that you are going to Vegas in the company.
I'm excited.
Now, brand new, #1 in all the new DMs, but you're #3 in all of the Cutco world. So DVMs, vet DMs, new DMs, you are #3, my good sir.
That's awesome.
Did you know that?
Oh, now I know.
Now you know. I'm so proud of you, man. And I barely know you. I've only met you a few times. I got to tell you, I love it. I love it. What I loved about you, Dave, is that when we first called, you were on the phone early. You had multiple people in your office. It was 8 o'clock there. It was 9 o'clock Eastern time. Shirt and tie. All of your people were dressed up in a shirt and tie. And it just immediately, like you were, I could just tell that it wasn't today that you were doing that. It was just like, this is what we do. So I'm excited to ask you some questions. We've got about 10 to 15 minutes of running time. And we could talk all day. You know, I'm going to kind of stick and move, though, if that's cool with you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. What are some of your best practices?
Well, first of all, as far as like the summer goes, I was focusing a lot of like the top people, the people that were, the most inclined to put in the work, put in the effort. There's all type of people that come into the business, and I'm not here to like judge anybody, but sometimes we see when somebody actually really cares, when somebody actually wants to do something for themselves, and I will put a lot of effort on those people. I will try to delegate a lot of I would say tasks and duties during the day to my assistant managers if it didn't produce a lot of CPO. So when there was a really sharp kid in training, literally my 100% focus was on that person. And he will always come around to do a good job. So not saying that if I had a training of 20, I would just focus on one, but I would try to always focus on my top people. I will always do the holdbacks at night. I will make sure that they show up 30 minutes early, take the time to go report, connect with them. And I wouldn't focus too much about the people that were not, as bought into the job. So number one, that's just during training. And as they started coming into the business and getting their, feet wet and everything, I just connected with them at a more personal level, I guess you can say. We've had, like hangouts in my apartment. There's a pool party that I use. There's a pool that I use to throw parties and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, but just to have fun and connect with the people that I have surrounded by me, because I live 3 hours away from anything that I'm familiar with. So I kind of had to. It was kind of like a survival mode that I got into, whereas like I have to make friends. I have to create a family for myself because there's no one here to help me out or for me. So that's what I started doing, connecting with people, taking them out for dinner, lunch here and there. I've heard people that say like, you don't need to buy people dinner or lunch dinner for them to like, buy into you. But a lot of times it makes a difference. It makes a big difference when you show them that you care about them, and just treat yourself with them and get to connect with them during those one-on-one time, not only being like a professional relationship. It just connect with them at a more personal level, like I was saying. So
wow, that's
yeah.
awesome. I love the fact that, because a lot of people that I hear is, I want to focus on my top people. And you had said, I'm not here to judge, but really important that I want our newer managers and even veteran managers to realize was the more inclined to work. So you're not judging them by appearance solely. When they walk in, you're sitting down with them talking, but then they show you things that, hey, this person is inclined to work, and that immediately is going to get my attention. That is a quote unquote top person. Excellent. What time did you get to your office every single day? Most days.
6:30, 6:45.
And what time did you have your people come in?
If they're running a phone jam, if they have a morning phone jam on their schedule, they have to be here set up and ready to run the phone jam by 6:45, because people are working in 6:48, 6:50, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. we're already kickstarting with like playing charades or, Simon Says or whatever it is to like kickstart the morning. And then after that is over, like 15 minutes, then we jump on the phones. So by 7:15, we're already calling.
How often in the summertime did your representatives beat you to the office?
Never.
See, I asked that because you can always tell the person's reaction, and like, I believe it. I believe it based on your results. I believe it based solely on your attitude and how you are. And I remember we were first chatting. It was great because it's like, hey, I can't tell my people to be at the office at 8 if I'm not here at 6:45. And that really, I wrote that down. I want to quote you that again. I can't tell my people to be here by 8 if I'm not willing to be here by 6:45. That is a pretty amazing attitude. I'm not saying that everyone has to do that, but in your first year, your first couple of years, if you're not willing to go above and beyond, how are you willing to have your people do the thing? And David, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty amazing, man. Special.
Yeah.
What's your attitude like on a day-to-day basis? What's your mentality?
Well, like we discussed before, I know that my territory is not like the biggest or like the wealthiest. Actually, my office here where I'm sitting in Mexico is like 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it's like super close to Mexico. I think my territory is like, not to bash my territory. I mean, I love Laredo, but I think it's like the cheapest city in the United States to live in. So not a lot of people are like very, very wealthy, but one thing that we have to do in order for us to like, I guess you can say, pick up the slack on the other side of things is work harder. That's the one thing that we have to our advantage. I don't want to say that I'm wired differently, but I think in terms of like work and not what advantages do I have. When I went to SLC this past week, I realized how a lot of people like complain about the territory, and if they had kids, they would be doing so much better. And me thinking to myself is like, there's always a way. You just have to figure it out and work harder than others. My mentality every day is like, domination. I don't compete. I dominate. Like I took over this room, but in the other room I have 6 people calling for demos. At 9 a.m. they already know they have to jump on PR, not on PR calls, but on social media. You took a look at the stats on SLC, and you can see out of the entire summer we schedule, I believe it was 49 people out of social media, and the number 2 was like 32 or something like that. So it's not a matter of like we wish to be good. It's just we work hard, and we pound our way through the programs. When I barely started with social media, I was awkward. When I remember like trying to take over Snapchat for Nick and stuff like that, and he would always tell me like, dude, why are you posting? And I was like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. And I eventually did, and that helped us, and it helped with all the programs, training. I was very scared to speak in front of people when I was in training. Interviews, I was scared to death because I didn't know how to speak English properly. So I just found my way through the programs, and I was not scared to messing up because I knew that eventually was going to lead to success, or pretty much doing it better.
Not afraid to mess up because you knew you were going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow, man. This is some impressive stuff. What a special first 15 minutes. I keep on using the word special. I feel like your story's special.
Thank you.
We don't compete, we dominate. We're the hardest workers, not the territory, the person type of a feel. We don't compete, we dominate. I might steal that. Is that okay?
Yeah. And I think that's something that my district manager and my DVM instilled in me. Since I was in the TLA or the MIT program in the fall last year, they will always say it's not about the territory, it's about the manager. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of it. And I mean, I'm just like a living proof of that.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool story so far.
Yeah.
Feels good?
Yeah.
Feels good to feel good, right?
Yes.
Feels pretty great to feel great. Real quick, man. First 8 months as a DM, the best as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, put a pin in that question. If you were to look back 5 years ago, would you think that you'd be in this position currently that you are now?
5 years ago.
Yeah. What are you now? What's your age?
20.
So 15, would you think that you're going to have this level of success in the business, winning the #1 trophy at SLC, the national conference, #1 at our president's banquet? Would you feel that you would have had this level of success at the age of 15?
I didn't know I was going to live in the US.
Didn't even know you were going to live in the US. Didn't even know English 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Dude, 5 years from now, as best as you can see it, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Building wealth. I see myself in a better financial position. I'm thankful to be guided by Nick Smith as far as like financial education goes. Looking into real estate properties, systemizing a business, scaling the business, as he's one of the best ones in the vector world.
Nick's
And
pretty good.
yeah, he's pretty good, pretty solid at what he does. And just having that time and financial freedom, I want to say before I turn 30. The reason why is because I wanna make sure that I enjoy my 20s, at least the end of my 20s. I've been working my butt off for like a year and 9 months, and it's nothing that I regret. But I just don't want to look back at like 35 or 40 at my life and be like, wow, I really didn't get the time to enjoy the time that I had for myself. So I want to build this fast enough to where I can actually have some time to enjoy by the end of my 30s. In the 20s, sorry.
Yeah.
So
now I know you thrash on the drums.
yeah.
Yeah. How often are you playing?
Not as often as I should probably.
Don't make me drive down there.
Yeah.
Let's do it weekly, man. Let's thrash. What else do you play as far as musical instruments?
I play the guitar a little bit. I want to say that I play the keyboard. I'm not really great at it. I pound my way through it. I figure it out. But yeah, I mainly the drums, I've been playing since I got to the US. One of my friends introduced me into it, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. I'm looking into buying an electronic drum set because they will kick me out of my apartment if I get an acoustic drum set. But oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You own the building and you can do whatever you want, right?
exactly.
Next year.
Next year.
I love it. Financial success, seeing yourself 5 years from now. Do you have any money saving goals? Anything that you want to do with finances specifically, other than just be financially stable? Like, what does financially stable mean to you?
Well, we were talking about it the other day, the day that we cash flow more than or earning, or how do you call it? Yeah, earn income. The day we cash flow more than or earn income, there's where you're gonna be like, okay, we're doing pretty good financially, I guess you can say, because we get, great pay working with Vector. But if we could get that much money on cash flow, on, residual income, that day is like, okay, we're doing something right. I think we can not step the foot off the pedal, but live the same life, the same lifestyle without having to work as hard, with a little bit more of time freedom.
Yeah. I think if you continue the way that you are, and I'm not saying you work as hard in the amount of time and the amount of energy for the rest of your life, but that intensity that you have, then you can get a little bit smarter with your work. And right now you're just kind of like that blunt force trauma, just pound and ground. And I got to tell you, man, if everyone worked as hard as you in their first 18 months in anything, I just honestly don't see as many problems happening. So the worker mentality to, work hard now so you have the ability of not working as hard later. I love it. Last couple of questions here, man. What do you attribute to your success? You've mentioned on a little bit, but anything else you want to add to?
Number one, I think, is a lot of discipline. Being self-disciplined is one of the biggest traits, I guess you can say, because when you can be in control of yourself, you can do a lot of things around you. You have to be not financial. Well, yeah, financial discipline. You have to be, emotionally disciplined. On the bad days, quote unquote. What does your attitude look like? And just remember that it's just a couple hours, it's just a couple days, and you have to still. I do this a lot, regardless of how I feel. I get up, I dress up, and I show up. And it's not, and I show up. Yeah, it's not a thing of like, oh, I'm really motivated. I'm just, I want to say, extremely disciplined. Um, Number one, and number two is constant growth. I am obsessed with the idea of self mastery. Right now, I'm going into the financial path of self mastery. But I know that eventually, once we get to a more systemized business or a more systemized place, I know I'm gonna be able to focus more on. I don't leave my spirituality away, or like my physical appearance away, but I always strive for more. I don't want to stay in this place because I don't ever want to feel stuck. I mean, I grew up feeling stuck, and I don't like the feeling. So now that I have the opportunity to constantly grow, is one of the biggest things that I attribute my success to.
That's great, man. Like, you actually seize the opportunity, you see it in front of you. I just can't get over the fact 5 years ago being in Mexico, not knowing English, but knowing that you wanted a little bit more, advancing yourself, moving over to the States by yourself, correct?
It was with my mom. We moved in.
Okay.
Yeah, into my dad's, and my stepdad's pretty supportive. He was always there for me.
But so you did move over with your family.
With my so a little to explain, but pretty much my parents, my mom and my stepdad met online,
Okay.
and they talked
This
to
is the
each other.
director's cut information. Go ahead.
Okay, so they met about, they were talking about 2 years before they actually met in person. And once that happened, we moved in with them, with my stepdad, and he was great. He always protected me. He always, took care of me and everything, and that held us for about a year and a half. And then I was like, I want to go to McAllen. And then when I was in McAllen, I was like, okay, I figure out that no one is there for me. I'm the one who has to figure it out on my own. Mom and dad is never gonna come to the rescue ever. So I have to focus on myself.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Dude, any last things here? If you were to give a 60-second to 90-second tip to our new managers out there about if they're feeling a little stuck, if they're on top of the world, to our vets, anything that you like to say, any last wrap up to our people out there about your experience, about your path, your journey, any last kind words of wisdom?
I think the main thing is gonna be, just know that it will require more effort, more energy, more time, more money than you currently think it will to achieve your goals. It will take great amounts of effort, time, money, energy, resources in order for you to accomplish your goals. So when you try to achieve something, do not strive for like, oh, I'm gonna just hit my numbers, because that's like, I know it might sound crazy, but I don't keep track of how many PRs I make, how many people I set up for the interview, how many people I have for the training. I work by potential and not by quota. I work my best at everything I do. I try my best at everything I do, and if my best is the best, well, then it is. But I don't cap myself. I don't tell myself like what's good, what's bad. I just work hard at everything, and that's the main thing. Just work hard. We're young. We have a lot of things to go through still. So don't think that just because a week of work didn't go as planned or as you wanted it to go, the next week's gonna be the same. Just keep working. We're 18, 19, 20. We're barely starting. We're barely figuring out the game. Many people have had great success with the company, and if they did, it's like, why not me?
I mean, even if you're 25, even if you're 30, even if you're 35, it's just a great mentality. Keep it fresh. If you've got the ability to get up out of bed, you've got the ability of making a difference.
Yeah.
Dude, this is amazing stuff. I love your energy. I love your excellence that you bring. I mean, I've got a bunch of quotes here that I'm going to definitely use and steal from you. We don't complete, we dominate. That's one of my favorites. I love the fact that it's 8:30 where you are, and you have how many people in the office right now calling?
Well, I just heard a couple of people walking in, so I probably have like 6 or 8.
6 or 8 in there on a Tuesday morning, just because this is what we do.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it, man. What a great story. I'm excited to see what you continue to do. I'm excited to see in Vegas, first time attendee, #1 new DM in the entire country, #3 overall. And it's literally October. I'm just so excited for you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, man, as we wrap up today, you know what we get to do for the last minute?
What?
We get to do the lightning round of fun questions.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So I'm going to put a minute on the clock. Don't worry about how many you get right. Just focus on the answer at hand.
Okay. Got it.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. 1 minute. Ready, set. Okay, go. All right. When is your birthday?
9/11.
Okay. What country is directly south of the United States?
Mexico.
Very good. What is this?
A pen.
What is this?
A watch.
Wow. Name 3 different types of pizza toppings.
Pepperoni, ham, and bacon.
You're a meat guy. I like it. Who was the first president of Mexico? You can also pass.
Pass.
Oh, man. What year did Cutco start?
1949.
1949, correct. Finish this word.
Awesome.
What is the best snack to eat?
Trail mix.
What is it?
Trail mix.
Trail mix. Dude, at the buzzer. Hello, Joseph Coss.
What is up?
Good morning to you. Salutations. Thank you for joining us. I see the new Madrid shirt. What
Yes.
were your thoughts on the choice of the company trip?
I'm fired up. Never been to Spain, never been to Europe. I never really traveled at all out of the country ever until I started working with Vector. So I'm fired up.
I think, as you know, you are number one in Vector East for President's Banquet standings with 117,000. So you are going to President's Banquet standings.
Yeah, I'm fired up.
Overall for President's Banquet standings in the number 3 category, or number 3 for the new DM category. So there's 2 guys in Vector West. But the cool thing, which I don't know if you know, out of all President's Banquet standings, you are number 13 in all of Cutco, including DVMs and Vet DMs.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's exciting. I think that the highlight, which you just told me a few minutes ago before we got on, is that you're number 1 in Silver Cup for new district managers.
Number 2 in new business for Silver Cup managers.
I know. I just wanted to see what your face was like when I was at number 2.
My blood started boiling a little bit. So
it's amazing to be in that ranking, in that category, in the running for it. So congrats to your success, man. I want to jump right into you and again, the previous questions we've had was, tell me about what you wish you would have known. And I guarantee there could be a few things that popped up that you wish you would have known 8 months ago. But for you, what I want to talk about, like with David Romero, is, hey, what are you doing that's working? Like, what are you doing that's just going right for you right now?
Yeah. So I think for me, what went well, what goes well for me is just the commitment and the vision that I have, right? I mean, I when I started with Vector and Cutco, I mean, I just fell in love with the business. I always wanted to go into entrepreneurship. I always wanted to, be the boss. And I love the opportunity to be a district manager because, I mean, I'm in business for myself, but not by myself. And the reason I bring that up is because I think that really helps with driving the results. I love being able to control what my office does, right? If I have a bad week or a bad day in my sales, in my recruiting, then it's my fault. There's no one else I can blame. I can't blame my assistants. I can't blame the government, right? I can't blame, anything else. It's all me. So I think what goes well for me and what I do really well is that I just have a lot of autonomy. I love having the control and the vision for what I want to accomplish. I'm very clear on who I want to be and what I want to go out and do. I told myself before I went out as a new DM, I just was like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best at it. I told myself I was going to be the top manager in the company. I'm going to win the Silver Cup. I'm going to fight, scratch, and claw my way. If I have a bad month, bad week, bad campaign, I don't care if I did $0 for the summer. I'm going to figure out how to do it. So for me, that's what really clicks well with my results, is that I have control over them, and the vision for what I ultimately want to do here, being part of Vector and Cutco, is that it helps me get past those bad days and those bad months and whatever, the personal stuff that may happen. That way I can keep the business, in check and in place.
Interviewing with David earlier today, and we're going to combine the two. So like our company gets the goods from new, rookie DMs, but
right.
You're acting like a rookie. You're saying some really veteran things. And the ironic part is that you and David said super similar things. We don't rely on anyone else except ourselves to do so, but not in an arrogant, not in a smug type of a way. Like, we don't rely on the government to bail us out. We don't rely on, we don't rely on mom or dad to come in and help fix things. But you're for yourself, not by yourself. And those are some really veteran things. I love that. Where did this being the best mentality, where did that start for you? Where did this come from?
I would say it started when I was 13. I mean, I remember I didn't play sports at all growing up, and I went out for football when I was 13 years old in middle school, and then after football season ended, I was like, what else should I do? My brother was like, hey, you should go out and wrestle. And I'm like, okay. And I went out and wrestled, got my butt kicked, and I fell in love with it. And after that, that was in 8th grade. So he was like, hey, like, you want to wrestle in high school? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, okay, cool. You should go to the preseason practices. And I know what that was. And I was like, I don't want to go to preseason. It's not the season. He's like, well, Joseph, you need to put in some work before the season starts. And I'm like, why would I want to do that? He looked at me. He was like, why would you want to do anything and not try to be the best at it? And ever since he told me that, I can point it always back to that, right? It was like that click, that moment, like an epiphany, right? Like that moment was like, wow, like that makes so much more sense. Why would I ever do anything and not do everything in my power to be the best at it? And so I think that's where the mindset really came from, because I developed that in sports growing up, right? In football, I wasn't the best football player at first, but, I was 125 pounds when I started. And then I figured out how to get really great at it. I was not the best wrestler. My first season, I think I went 6-25, something like that, 6-24, 6 wins, 24 losses. And my senior year, I went 45-4. Right. So it's just like that. I'm going to figure this kind of out mentality to be a high performer. It started at a young age, and I just transitioned into Vector, and with mentorship from my DVM, my original DVM, Mr. Manley, and my DM, Mr. Homan. It really helped transition to what I do now.
Yeah. If you're going to do anything, why not be the best? Along those words. Now, let's say that somebody never had the older brother. Nobody ever had that coach. There's someone out there listening that goes, I never had that mentor. You know what the best part about that comment is, in this platform with somebody else watching it? They've now heard it. You have now echoed what your brother told you that has had tremendous impact on you to our other staff. And it's a great message. If you're going to do something, why not be the best? Now, it's funny when you get on this topic, because there is a lot of competition naturally in life, right? I mean, it's the Darwinism, the strongest will survive. But when it comes down to our business, it's like the best. And everybody's kind of focused on the best. It's more like, what is the best? Is the best highest CPO? Is the best most recruited? Is the best how much money you've made? And I guess it's more of a personal opinion, because on a day-to-day, if you're showing up and giving your best, you're showing up on time, you're being kind, you're showing up for people. I don't think you can touch my face. And you're just being a good overall person. I mean, why not give it your best? So being the best might be challenging, but why not give it your best?
Yeah.
I think it's great. I really appreciate that. And kudos to your brother. Make sure you give him a hug and tell him that story. This is going to be on a national interview podcast Zoom call that it had. And I think that'd be really great to let him know the impact that he's had. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Right, man. Talk to me about driving the culture of your office, what you do to drive the culture to stimulate your people and to get them on the same page.
One thing that helps me a lot is just, first of all, identifying what kind of culture you want. For me, going into the summer, I knew I wanted a culture of fun. I knew I wanted a culture where people can be themselves. I knew I wanted to be a high-powered sales culture. I wanted people to have big average orders, and I wanted people to, it'd be a PR culture. Right. So those are like the 6 main things that I wanted to identify within my organization. Like if a random CEO or random anybody came into my office from a different company, and they watched me for a couple of days, right, and they talked to my team, they could immediately see what kind of culture it was after a day or so working being in my organization. And I knew I wanted that to be the case. Just because if kids are selling a lot, they're obviously going to have more fun. They're going to be happier, and they're going to drive the PR culture in my office without me having to really move the needle a lot. So I think the first thing anybody, who's watching this is just figure out what kind of culture it is that you want. What do you want a culture where your kids get a lot of recommendations, right? You want a culture where kids, are comfortable in their own skin, whatever it is, right? And once you identify what that is, it's implementing it every single day, talking about it from the interview. Like from my interview, I'm talking about it. Really, it goes back to the PR call. Like, oh, your friend probably recommended you because they made so-and-so X amount of money. The office environment is a lot of fun. We work with a lot of athletes. We work with a lot of, med school students. I'm sure that's why they recommend you, because they thought you kick some butt and you'd have fun here, right? Whatever it is, it's from the get-go, right? It's from there. Then the interview talking about it. Then opening comments talking about it. And then on PDI, I'm talking about it. And then advanced training, I'm talking about it. And it's just speaking it into existence over and over and over again. I think those are the main two things to driving culture. Identifying and then speaking into existence, talking about all the time, and then eventually what's going to happen is your people will start mimicking that. They will start talking about it. One thing that my division manager preaches and talks about all the time in every TLA is that culture doesn't change when the coach tells players that's not how we do things. Culture changes when the players tell other players that's not how we do things. So I make sure that I preach that to my best kids. And I say the last thing that I do is I make sure I identify my rabbits, right? My best people. And I have conversations with them, my key staff members, whatever you call them. And I pull them aside and I make sure that they're speaking my same language, right? In my staff meetings, I'm making sure that they're, if I'm talking about branch, they're talking about branch. If I'm talking about, selling big, they're talking about selling big. If I'm talking about SC2 push, they're talking about SC2 push. If I'm talking about whatever it is, they say the same things that I say. I had a rep yesterday. She was like, we had a PC, and she was like, I was talking to so-and-so assistant manager. She talked to like 2 or 3 assistant managers this past weekend because I was in Mexico. And she was like, it was her first time ever talking to them. And she was like, they talk just like you. They say the same things that you say. It was so weird. I thought I was talking to you. And I'm like, that's a good thing, right? So that's what I would say in regards to the culture and driving in the organization.
What's that saying? The imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Is that
something
right?
like that? Yeah, something like that.
Go back and cut, delete. Imitation is the best form of flattery. The best form of flattery is imitation. One of those things, right? So what you're saying reminds me of I was watching ESPN, love ESPN, and they were talking about this culture, vision, and they were talking about work ethic. And one of the analysts said, I really can't hear what you're saying because your culture is speaking way too loudly. And that would really remind me of what you said. Hey, you can talk all day about how things are going to be, but until you walk that walk, until you act that way, until your culture is that way, it's just kind of words. I think that if I was a new manager, right? Even if I was a veteran manager, I would go back and I would reinvent or renew. It's like renewing your vows of what my culture is. And then I would go and look for. So if I'm a brand new DM, I would be like, hey, what do I want my culture to be? Do I want my culture to be late? Do I want my culture to be this? Do I want my culture to be, I guess so? Or do I want my culture to be, hey, this is what we're going to do. On time, prompt, dress professionally. Here's our team champ. What you want to see happen 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road, start to promote that now. And the toughest thing to do is going to be to change or try to change that culture now, because there's going to be a couple of weeks of playing catch up.
Yep.
I remember coaching with John Roman years ago, and I might have repeated this before. I'm going to say it again, is that people really do like change. People want to lose weight. People want to stop smoking.
Yep.
People want to start a new hobby. But it's what they fear is transition.
Yep.
And the transition is really what people get caught into. And that 2-3 weeks of transition is what you're talking about, that a person can essentially create that culture, getting clear. Here's what I want. These are the ingredients. This is the recipe, and cook it. And if it burns, try it again. And if it burns again, try it again. But I love it, man. Being clear and being intentional, and it's a good exercise to review what you want it to be, and then look for it in your office, and then point out who's doing it.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks for showing up today on time. You're the first person to our phone jam. Obviously, our phone jam starts at 4 p.m. Joe is here at 3:30. I just want to recognize Joe's commitment to the team. I think what that does to everyone else is kind of like, oh, I should show up early, versus saying show up early.
Yep.
David earlier, by the way, I think you'll like this one. David said, how can I expect my team to show up at 8 if I'm not willing to show up by 6:45?
Love that. That's why he's a stud.
I'm like, dude, and he's just so humbly, so simple. If you watch his episode, it's pretty awesome. And another one I think you'll like is we don't compete, we look to dominate. And that's just the mindset. Here's what we're here to do. Humbly, though. We're not going to try to do things unethically. We're not going to cut corners. We're just going to do it. And we're not afraid of failure because we're going to get to the end. So that's what I'm hearing from you, man. I think that's really great to have a culture at such a young age in the business. But even though you're young in the business, I don't think that reflects your mentality. I think you're thinking like a veteran. You're like a 2, 4, 5-year veteran. That's great. We're going to transition here to the last couple of things before we end it. And again, man, this is so far just great stuff. If you were to give some tips to a new DM right now that's finding their way, maybe they're in a small groove. Hey, maybe they're kind of stuck behind a rock right now. What are some general things that you can do to move them forward?
I would say number one thing is I think it's important for anybody who if they're stuck or whatnot, or maybe they're not getting the results that they want, it's important that you need to sit down and think and figure out what it is that exactly that you do want. I know for me, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take 20 minutes to explain what it is that I want in life because I could, but a lot of people can tell, most people can tell you what they don't want out of life. Like, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to, live in a small house. I don't want to, work a job I hate. Right. But very few people can tell you what they do want. And I think it's very important to get clear on that. Like, I know I want to be ultra successful, right? I know I want to be a millionaire by a particular age. I know I want to be a billionaire before a particular age. I know I want to own multiple companies. And I know I have this grander vision, right? I know I want to become, X, Y, and Z. So for me, it allows me, because I know what it is that I want out of my life, it allows me to put forth my best effort and show up as my best self to my business. So, and new DM doesn't have to sit down and think, what do they want out of their life goals, right? Before I'm 60, what do I want to accomplish, right? But it's like, hey, what do you want this month? If you're only doing $2,000 in new business this week, well, how quickly can you get that to $5,000? How quickly and as soon as you get to that $5,000, how quickly you can get that to $10,000? Then how can you get that to 15, right? It's these steps. And I think a lot of times people make the mistake of, these trying to make these giant leaps in their business and worrying about getting to, like, if you're at $20,000 for President's Banquet, oh my God, like, how am I going to make it this 80 grand, right? It's like, don't think about it that way. Just focus on getting from 20 grand to 30 grand as quickly as you can, right? So it's being intentional about what it is that you want out of your life, but also just, just bringing it down notches into actionable steps. So that's the first thing I would say. And as soon as someone figures out what it is that they want out of the business, it's number two is just taking action. And it's not just about taking action. It's about taking precise action. One of my mentors in the business taught me that at the beginning of the summer when things weren't going my way. He was like, hey, you're taking a lot of action. You need to take more precise action. And my mentality, and if I'm in the business, especially in the summer, in the fall, whatever, if I'm not talking to a rep, I'm talking to their friend, right? It's just like, hey, if I'm not talking to somebody on a PDI call, I'm talking to their friend in an interview or a PR call, right? It's just that's my mentality, is like the $100 an hour work is the precise action that I'm going to take. So those are the two things I would say to a new DM to really help them get out of that hump: is figure out what it is that you want, have a vision, right? And then make actionable steps towards those increment portions of your business to make sure you get the most out of it.
Excellent, Joseph. Precise action. You're about precision, clarity, focus. What is it exactly that I want, and go for it. But you're not just randomly shooting for it. You're thinking about it. You're taking some time to reflect. And where you have elevated yourself to here, this could or might be intimidating to somebody who hasn't done it. Take a day, take a week, take a couple of hours. And I'm not saying you have to have this focus tomorrow, but if you start to promote it, you think it into fruition. Hey, a month from now, come January program, who knows? Like, you're going to all of a sudden be living what we're talking about, but it's precision. What exactly do you want? Clear on it. And then what's the step? What's the precise? What's the actionable step today? Talking to the right people. So many times you get caught in that little negative circle, right?
Yeah. And I'll say this, one thing I learned this from Katie Nosal. For some people watching this, they may remember her. She was an amazing PSM and district manager, and she taught me years ago, it only takes 3 weeks, 3 good trainings in a row to change a campaign, to change a year. So if someone's watching this and they're like, well, Joseph, like, I'm frazzled, like nothing's going right, that's totally okay. you just got to get focused on, can I get one good seminar for this upcoming week?
Yeah.
Get 2 to 3 solid kids out, right? And then build from there.
Yeah.
And in 3 weeks, an organization can completely change.
I believe that. I've lived that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe it at times because I wasn't living it. And all of a sudden one training class comes and it's like, my head's out of water. And then the next one comes and it's like, hey, I can move my arms. And then by that 3rd week, you're just like, I'm on the beach. Like, let's building. Like, that's good.
Yeah.
This is great, man. I really appreciate your mentality. I love the 2 focuses: get clear what you want, take some time to reflect and step backward. You know, it's not built in the day. So, you know, allow yourself this transition time, and transition time is the growth time. Nobody really wants to go through it, but it's necessary. So I love it, dude. This is really, really great stuff, man. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Before you do go, I know you've got another call to go to. We get to end on our lightning round of fun questions.
Cool.
Do you know about that?
You said what?
Have you heard about this yet?
Oh yeah, I love the fun questions.
Have you actually listened to them?
On a couple of videos, yeah.
Some of them. So people actually don't know. They like skip the forward message and they get to the meat and potatoes because it's fluff, I've heard.
We usually put it in the beginning.
So at the end, there was a lightning round of fun at the end.
Oh, okay.
So there's a few with Larry. That was our first one.
Okay.
And now we've done the lightning round at the end. So if you're missing the questions, man, we're missing the boat here.
Oh no.
We gotta have a little bit of fun. So we got 1 minute on the clock. And you ready to go? If you want to pass, ready. You can pass.
No, I'm ready.
Okay. On your marks, get set, go. What is the capital of Virginia?
Richmond.
Nailed it. What is better, a Big Mac or a Whopper?
Oh, Big Mac.
Wrong. Chicken wings. Since we're talking about chicken wings, what's the best dipping sauce for chicken wings?
Ranch.
Very good. What is it called, the key that when you put into any door, it opens it up?
Master key. Skeleton key.
Judges, they're giving it to you. You got it. All right. Okay. Finish this word.
What?
Okay. It's Switzerland.
Oh.
Okay. Almost. What is this thing?
A gnome.
Very good. Very good. What does a tadpole turn into?
A what?
A tadpole. What does it turn into?
A frog.
Frog. Name the 3 standard meals in a day.
Protein or standard meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, at the buzzer. Wait, I'll give you one more chance. What was it?
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
All right, dude. Hey, not bad. I really can't believe you didn't get Switzerland. I mean, it's really careful taking. I don't understand.
Like sword? Like, what is that?
Dude, it has been a pleasure. Your content is right there on a veteran level. And again, I can't stress this more. The reflection of your age has no reflection upon your knowledge amongst the business. Dude, keep on doing the right things. Keep on treating people the way you're treating them. Keep on painting your vision. And I'm excited to see what happens here. I'll see you in Vegas, man.
Yeah, I'm fired up. Thank you so much for having me on.
Have a great day, buddy.
Yes, sir.